Thank you for watching and listening to episode 17 of the Conqueror's Corner podcast. Today is Thursday, July 15th, and your boys are back to back to back to back undefeated at GM Nightfalls this season. As always, we have Jared.
Hey, y'all, and I got an oath for you to take later in this episode, too.
Spoiler alert. And Chato Cero.
I got a hung jury, and Jared didn't, so he's trying to change the subject.
But before we let the dogs out, let's get through some housekeeping. Make sure you subscribe, unsubscribe, and then resubscribe to our podcast on Spotify and iTunes. You can watch us on YouTube, channel name Conqueror's Corner. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and click the bell on the video version. And make sure you follow us on Twitter at DestinyCCPod, where we have links pinned to the podcast YouTube channel as well as the Discord server. Jared, let's get weird.
All right, first thing, we're going to jump into the TWAB. Yeah, basically, we're second week of Solstice and 6 weeks until the next season. So that's kind of where we're at. We're just doing some small things here and there to get our sights set on the next new round of content. And, looking forward to that. We're going to have some reputation changes coming in Season 15 for Crucible, Vanguard, and Gambit. So they've already told us to spend your Vanguard tokens because Duval is going to get his wake up system exactly how Shax and the Drifter is. And I think for the most part, everybody's excited about that. I think Strikes have kind of been left behind in rewards for a while now. So I think a lot of casual players will enjoy that we work the Strikes. But also, Trials is going to get its own ranking system as in Season 15. So that kind of surprises me a bit. I'm interested to see how that system looks for the casual player compared to the people that go flawless. So if it's a way to get the casual players in there, I think it might be a good way to get some of us, in there and trying to play.
Yeah, depending on the structure there, it's definitely a way to they're trying to get more people in there.
It's pretty simple. Let us get the 3-win, the 5-win, and the 7-win reward. Doesn't matter the amount of losses. And then to go to the lighthouse and get the adept loot, you have to have a flawless card.
Yeah,
I think that kind of solves that, keeps everybody playing. And
I think so.
Reset the card, and if it takes us 15 games to get 7 wins, but we know that Igneous Hammer's sitting there, I bet we're much more likely to play 30 matches of Trials that way than we are the way it's set up currently.
Yeah, because I think I might have played a total of maybe 12 games of Trials this season, maybe 15. I'm sure y'all are right there with me. And so another thing that's coming with this rank up system is going to be tied to the ritual weapons and the ritual weapon ornaments. So, usually we just get a bounty from the gunsmith to start working on it on day 1 of the season. So this might require a reset in one of them before you start getting into the ritual weapon, or might require a little more grind to that part of the game. And then bounties will no longer progress reputation rewards. They'll only be for XP.
Now, I could be crazy, but did I read in the TWAB that they're trying to normalize the amount of time that it takes to about the equivalent of getting your Valor to like 2100 or whatever, or 2000, whatever it is, to reset?
Yes, they want to speed it up a little bit for the normal player that's going on right now. So they're taking away the XP multipliers when you get consecutive wins to just being in the playlist playing consecutive games.
Yeah, now if you ever played in D1, you'll remember they did that with the Strikes playlist, where if you just stayed in the Strike playlist and just kept playing it, you'd have a higher and higher chance of getting better rewards. So that would just keep on happening. So you could just sit there and play it. And then they specify that if you're doing that, if you're just playing Strikes and you're with the homies and you guys got to go to the tower, you gotta hit the postmaster and break some stuff down. You got to grab more bounties because you're grinding some stuff out. That as long as you don't load into another playlist activity, you can go right back in and your modifier will stay at the number you were at. So say you did 7 strikes, you go to the tower, go back in, you're still at that 7 strike completed without having a break. So that's sweet. I like that that's coming back. And I'm definitely interested in seeing how they're going to change the reputation gains, and if they're going to make changes to the items that are on the track.
Oh yeah,
like what we suggested earlier to change it to make it more beneficial for all players. Really, I mean, it's going to be more beneficial to the hardcore gamers. But I think them taking away the win and lose streaks from Valor is and Gambit is great. I think from what I remember, they stated that it's right now it's like a 3 to 4 times as long if you're on a lose streak versus a win streak to complete it, and it's going to end up being like only twice as long, which is crazy because you're bound to get a couple of wins here and there. Yep. But like if you're on a Gambit losing streak, it'll take you 3 to 4 times as long to complete Gambit, and then on the last one you can't get any points at all on Legend. So if you're not winning, you're just stuck. So seeing that win-loss streak is going away is super helpful. It's just demoralizing.
Yeah, they also need to. I think the best part's going to be like with the Gambit that is not, because Gambit takes way longer than the other playlist in order to get a reset. So knocking that down to 8 to 10 hours or whatever they said they're kind of going for is going to be pretty nice. And plus this way, why can't they, why is it after the first reset, they take away the Ascendant Shard? Like, is that extra Ascendant Shards? Are they really stopping people from, is it really hurting Bungie so bad to give us that Ascendant Shard at the end?
That was odd to me. Like, I feel like it should have been reversed, right? Where like your first reset's the exotic, and if you keep going, they give you Ascendant Shards after that. It felt weird. But, I mean, it's more beneficial because not all players are doing 2, 3, 4 resets like we might be. They might only be able to have time for 1.5. So getting that one Ascendant Shard right away is good. It might take them a whole season just to get that. So it's a free shard for them as long as they play enough. And, I mean, it should just only be a shard the whole time. Because exotic, you can buy those from Xur every week if you're playing enough. So
yeah. But like you remember back in the day of Shadowkeep, whenever those golf balls would, you didn't have as many as you do now. You know, you think about back then, and I wasn't playing that much then compared to now, but I really cherished every time I got a golf ball from the season pass or something else. So I think there's still a lot of players out there that really cherish their golf balls. So maybe after 2 resets it becomes an exotic engram, but I think they should be able to maybe give them at least another one.
No. I think they should get one every reset. Like if I reset Crucible 5 times in a season, I should get 5 golf balls. I don't understand why they're being so stingy.
I think it still needs to matter to do some in-game content to get Ascendant Shards, not just 6v6 Warrior. All right. The next is some changes to the gilding the Conqueror title, which is something that we actually care about. You know, it's something that we actually look forward to doing every season. So GMs are going to continue not to come out until week 7 of the season. That's a little bit of a bummer to me. I wish that was coming out a little bit sooner. But I understand that they like the way that's the season set up with people grinding up to a high enough level in order to get into the Grandmasters. But in week 7, all 6 Grandmasters will be available to you through they call it the catch-up node, which is like the top right of where the Grandmaster is selectable right now, that little icon. But what's going to happen is after you complete a Grandmaster, that's no longer going to be selectable from the catch-up node. So you start out with 6. If you get them all done day 1, then the only Grandmaster you can play is wherever the Grandmaster that is that week. So this week is Inverted Spire. So this is to say Inverted Spire was week 1 next season for Grandmasters. You do the other 5 Grandmasters and you wanted to keep playing, the only thing you could do is Inverted Spire. Now, let's just say for some reason, somebody's on vacation that week. Let's say Chad's on vacation. And me and Fox was like, hey, we're playing Grandmasters because that's what we want to do, because usually at the point in the season, that's the only thing for us to do besides the seasonal activity. We get ours done. But Chad comes in the next week, say, "Hey, I want to get mine done too." We can still go in with him, even though we have our title Gilded and we can no longer select the GM. Whoever's the fire team leader has access still to those Grandmasters to select, because they haven't completed it yet. So all around, Bungie, great job.
Hey, so the day this opens up, we're doing all 6 of them in a row, right?
I was saying streaming an all 6 run, but
That's what I'm saying.
it's depending on what they are. That could be a long night.
Yeah, but I think it'd be fun though. So I did the math. Assuming that you reach your pinnacle cap, which 7 weeks should be plenty to go 10 power up, assuming that we keep that same system. Looks like you're going to need essentially 18 season pass ranks a week, getting up to that point. So even if you do like 20, do 21 a week, and that'll get you there as soon as Tuesday hits. That'll get you to season pass like 125, which is going to get you right where you need to be season pass wise, to get you to plus 15 on your artifact. And then with your pinnacle rewards, that'll put you, with your pinnacle cap, that'll put you at plus 25 over. You'll be good to go.
I mean, I'm definitely excited about that. It's gonna. Lots of people are complaining because you only get to really flaunt your Gilded Conqueror title for, was it 2 weeks of the season, and I get it. It feels bad. It felt bad last season. It didn't feel good. Only having that nice Goldie boy, but being able to rock it week 7 for the rest of the season
For the next 7 months,
you'd feel like those Dredgens on day 4.
Yeah, or the flawless.
The first weekend, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I think the day 4 Dredgens are it takes a special kind of pain to go through that.
Yeah, you got to really hate yourself on that one.
Right. And I love Gambit, but man, it has been a grind this season to get those 50 wins. I'm at 46 out of 50. That's all I have left. And
you're at 46, man.
Yeah.
And then they got a little charity update. What, 625,000 out of 777,000 for the goal. That is awesome. Great job to the community. And also a pretty cool lore reading done by Nicole Olson. She's part of the community team at Bungie. She's pretty active on Twitter, and she helps put together some of these TWABs and the streams and a lot of other stuff that Bungie does with interacting with the community. So pretty cool. Chad, I know you're a lore guy. Did you get a chance to look at that yet?
I haven't. I do my lore readings on Thursdays, getting prepped and all that stuff. So I had it loaded up so that I could watch it right after while we're doing our cooldown. But did you watch it?
I did.
Ooh.
It's basically Eris Morn calling her shot against Savathun.
Ooh.
And all the stuff she's going to do after she takes her out.
Dang it. Okay.
Do you guys like Eris Morn?
I love Eris, man. She's a weirdo and I like it.
Yeah, I think I saw something a while back. I guess it would be like the this girl on Twitter was like the brother Vance of Eris Morn, and was kind of saying how Eris is really the person in like the universe that's most affected by trauma. And it kind of made me think about like PTSD and trauma. And it made me kind of take like a different liking to her, because I'd never thought about that. And,
yeah,
when I was like, that's a really good point. So I kind of got a little soft spot for Eris and her rock.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, look at what she had to do to survive. Like she doesn't have human eyes anymore. Like, she had to do everything she could to survive. The amount of trauma watching all of her fire team members just get absolutely destroyed, watching her ghost get wiped out, and just being stuck there and feeling completely abandoned by everything. Like, that's just, oh man, that's a really tough story. And she makes it out. And she doesn't make jokes often, but she still makes jokes, and it's crazy. oof, she's a real deep character for sure, and I am now really excited to watch that after this.
Yeah, I hope everybody did their part in Shadowkeep and got those nightmares out of her Aurora.
I don't want
and
him
stuff.
hunting my girl either.
That's right. And they had a little footnote in his latest TWAB about there's a lot of stuff to cover before season 15, and everybody's excited for it. And if we could hit a fast forward button and get there, we would. But there's some stuff to cover along the way, and mainly two big topics I still want to cover is crossplay and sandbox changes. So we got some of that coming up soon.
Nice.
So, what do you guys expect to hear about the crossplay? Do you think it's going to be essentially opt-in to PvP, and everything else is automatic?
I mean, I hope next week they do like a little bit of talking about it, and then they talk about how the Tuesday after that they're going to do a Crucible beta, like they did with Strikes.
Right.
They said, hey, this is what we're planning to try to do, blah, 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 and let's have you guys test it out. I'd be all for it. Be like, play your 3 games, get another emblem, and just, let us do some groundwork, some double checking before we put everything live. I think that'd be great. I'm always happy to do nonsense like that and get a free emblem. But it's doing opt-in or not. I have no idea if they're going to make it like automatically everybody plays everybody, or if they're going to make it so that, I don't know. I don't have any 2 cents for that.
So this is what I'm really hoping for. I hope we get one Crucible playlist to where it's complete crossplay, but the seasonal, like the Crucible drop weapons are double in that playlist. So like double chances on Frozen Orbit and Survivor's Epitaph and all that stuff. That's in there. And I would like some restrictions on how big your fire team can be going into that if it's 6v6.
Ooh, okay,
I would like
yeah.
a max of 3. I don't think there needs to be 6 stacks going in there.
Could you imagine rolling through like we do in Banana? 6 of us versus a bunch of Xbox people?
Yeah.
They'd probably still kill me. But as far as if they do decide to do it opt-in, do you know how whenever you fly in on like Tuesday, it'll say like this or next week in Destiny, it'll say on like towards the weekend. I hope that if they decide to make it opt-in, that they make it a banner like that comes up, and from that banner you hit X to accept or Y to decline, and not just make it A or B. That way you actually have to read what it's saying. That way, because if you make it just hidden in a menu, how many people A, click through that banner, and B, if they miss that banner, are going into settings and analyzing and doing that? I'd say it's pretty slim. So I hope that if it is opt-in, they make you do something, like catch your attention to it and do it right there at the start.
I mean, doing it the way Jared says it, where it's a node, like a separate node, like they do with Freelance Iron Banner and stuff like that, would make sense. Where they have like a crossplay Iron Banner, crossplay Crucible, just rotating stuff, and then crossplay Strikes would be cool, because then you can play with anybody. Or if you load in with your Xbox buddies, your PlayStation buddies, your PC buddies, then it's just automatic. Then I mean, it'd be cool. It'd be better than the opt-in thing, because you'd be able to go, I want to play with, I want to get just my world rocked. Let me play just with the PC guys on Crucible. Or if you want to feel like you're better than normal, then go play some crossplay. Get your 120, 240 FPS over the Xbox guys.
Yeah, so I'm not a subscriber to the thing that the way the new gen Xboxes are and new gen PlayStations compared to PCs, the frame rates and how good controllers are with some weapons. Like if people just lay into the guns that are like better on their platform with their input method, because there's still majority of players in Destiny, it's like 80 or 85% of players are controller players. So people think that in Destiny PvP, everybody's on mouse and keyboard. It is not the case. Majority of players on Steam are still use controller. So I think it's fine to throw everybody in and let them play against each other. because for the most part it's RNG in the Crucible and stuff, especially in 6v6. Like it's just go play.
I think the only point that it matters are points that I would say 199 out of the 200 people that listen to this podcast every week, I would say that it doesn't matter to them. It only matters to one person out of everybody that listens. So with that, I did see that, I think it was Cammy put out a video, Cammy Cakes on YouTube, of him. I guess there used to be a way that you could be on mouse and keyboard and somehow get into a console lobby. Him and Drewski had something with it, and he went in, and his movement, you could tell, was really throwing everybody off. People couldn't track him that well, but I mean, he's 0.1% of the population.
Yeah.
It's not going to matter. It's not going to make any difference for me whatsoever.
And to be honest, it doesn't matter if he's playing on controller or mouse or keyboard. He's going to be at the top of the list making crazy.
Yeah, that's also very, very true.
Yeah, 100%.
That happened at the beginning of season 14 when they kind of turned on crossplay and didn't mean to. That's kind of what happened. So another thing that's been popping up in the community is this reissuing of the Dreaming City and Moon weapons. Have you all went and grinded for any of the new weapons?
No, not
weapons?
yet. Can't say I have. I've been busy doing some Master Vogs, some GMs, and running some homies through some past stuff. So I haven't had a time to really go to the moon and grind stuff out.
So the rolls are not really as good as they used to be. And, there's the 4 Chimes of Charms not on, the Sniper on the moon, Tranquility, firing line's not there. So people was upset about that. And they were saying, why would you give us back these weapons if the rolls are going to be so bad? They would have rather had the same rolls and had to regrind for the god rolls that they had. And they are missing the point of why these weapons got reprised. It's not for the player that has been playing every season since Shadowkeep or Forsaken has launched. There's been so many weapons now in the game to replace all of those. Those are only for the players, the new lights that come into the game and want to expand out and play some of these other storylines and get weapons to drop that are still viable, can be brought up to light. It's not for us. It's not for the people who's been grinding season after season. And
well, yeah, you kind of took every point that there was on that one, Jared. But it's not for us. Let's be honest. This is so they can sell the DLCs. I imagine that Forsaken probably becomes free to play when the new expansion drops. Wouldn't you think so? So then you would have Shadowkeep, Beyond Light, and the new expansion. Like they always keep 3 to purchase.
I mean, that's if they're keeping the Dreaming City and the Tangled Shore, because we don't know if they're going to vault stuff on the expansion day, and that's the next oldest stuff besides Nessus.
Right, and there has to be a reason that they kept Nessus. Why would they get rid of all the other places but Nessus?
Well, they used it for Cabal stuff.
Yeah, the Battlegrounds and that new strikes on it.
Was it the Callus's ship? Wasn't it his barge or whatever? Wasn't it in Nessus? So that was kind of my thought, is that's somehow going to be tied with Callus, and maybe that's why we kept it. But I don't really have a really good reason.
I think they started building Season of the Chosen stuff, and it was already on Nessus. That's why they kept it.
Yeah, I think that decision was already made by the higher ups, and they were already working on content with Nessus, and they're like, yeah, we'll keep it. Plus, it lets them go back to Callus and let them use him for Dead Man's Tale, that whole lore section there. So that decision was already made.
Yeah, this issue's kind of been under my skin for a while. I keep downvoting the posts every time I see them on Reddit, and they keep popping up. So it's one that's kind of, yeah, it's kind of got under my skin a little bit.
I'm going to start upvoting all those posts now, just so we cancel each other out.
All right, Vault of Glass hard mode this week. We got that done, and this challenge this week is assembles reframe. Everybody that gets teleported in the Atheon fight to go in and shoot the oracles has to shoot one oracle per wave.
Yep. It's very similar to D1, but I do like the way it's set up so that the shieldy boy has to drop shield. So you can't just have another person join in like in D1, where you'd have just a fourth person run into the throne, like the room, and just blast it, and then all three of those leave. Next three come in, they shoot their 3 oracles, and then DPS. This one makes it so you have to have a little bit more coordination. You have to rotate the shielding around, and you have to call out what you're going to do and also be quiet, because there's lots of calls that need to be made and need to be heard. Now, we had a lot of fun in there. I think, what was it, 3 hours? Three hours?
2 hours, at least 2 hours. But I think we were around the 2 hours. We had one guy that we picked up off of LFG. So our sixth man is in the deep south right now on business trip. Wasn't able to join us. So we picked up a guy we had never played with, but honestly, you could tell he was a veteran. He knew what was going on, so it wasn't too big of an issue. I think our final team composure was, what did we have? I know we had 2 Wellocks.
2 Wellocks, 3
else?
Titans, and 1 Hunter.
I didn't even realize we had a Hunter.
Yeah, the other guy, the LFG guy was a Hunter.
There's how much I was paying attention. I was just trying to stay alive. Honestly, I think the hardest part of that is not using your revive tokens, making sure everybody on the outside stays alive, because there are a lot of supplicants and a lot of harpies.
And all those count as aerial enemies.
What kind of load dust did you guys have?
I went with Night Watch. That's been strapped to my hip for a while this season, and then Salvager Salvo, and of course Anarchy again. There's a lot of those harpies have arc shields.
Yep, that was definitely the play. I was running that too. Same exact setup. Falling Stars. I think next time we go through Atheon, I'm gonna try out that grenade build, just because it seems safer. But I've been messing with the grenades in Crucible, so I think my aim's better anyway. So I'm pretty confident in it now.
What grenade build are you talking about?
Where you run in Middle Tree Solar, and you just keep chucking grenades, and you get the roaring flames on the harpies, and then you're just throwing grenades. Chuck a hammer, throwing grenades, and you're just doing like 300, 400k per grenade. It's wild.
I think I was running the ignition code and an eternal blazon. That way I had some range to take out those blue shields and anarchy, and it worked out pretty well. Main thing, whenever you get teleported in, everybody runs all the way back, because whenever you get teleported into past or present or Mars or Venus or red or green, whatever your team calls it, you are in essentially the same space reversed. So we ran to what would be the entrance of the throne room, and as long as you're standing back to the wall, like backed up all the way you can against the wall, none of the ads will shoot at you. So you have to kill the initial enemies whenever you get teleported in. But after that, run to the back of the wall. You're going to have that scout rifle out, and then you can just pluck away at the oracles in the order they were called, and it's pretty easy peasy.
Yeah, you got to kill that gatekeeper.
Yeah. Not a lot of people like to do the runaway strat. We do it just because it's safer, and we're running with someone that's new to us anyway. So we wanted to make sure that we made it as easy as we could. So the other option that I've seen is to just drop a baby well where the gate to run out is, and just have everybody there killing everything as fast as possible, and then focusing on the other side, because the other side is usually where the anti-barrier spawns in. So if you can kill everything right there fast enough, because that's where I think it's, I want to say it's 4 goblins and a minotaur, and on the other side is a anti-barrier. So if you can kill the main group fast enough, and then all 3 people focuses on the anti-barrier, you can take it out quickly, as long as you can trust your teammates to do that, which is also fine. I mean, our method is the safest by far, as long as you take out the gatekeeper, but it's up to how you want to play it, for sure.
Main thing to remember is that you only have 4 damage phases. So make sure that, if you get through damage phase 2 and he still has 60% health left, I would go ahead and wipe. Don't waste your time. But staying alive and not using your revive tokens, I thought was the most difficult part of the whole challenge. The Oracle part wasn't difficult. It was just the supplicants and all that stuff, or taking a bad death trying to jump to the DPS island, So there are multiple things that can kill you. You just have to play pretty good Destiny for about 7 or 8 consecutive minutes.
Yeah, and if you're not at least 1335, you're really going to be hurting to stay alive. They everything just hitting you so quickly and taking your shields out. A lot of void damage reduction and concussive dampener goes a long way in that encounter. So when you complete challenge mode, a corrective measure drops in the time loss version, which comes with dramatic story reduction and Firefly. Pretty good loot there, right?
Oh yeah, definitely a fun one for sure. And you can try to roll with that quad god. I obviously haven't gotten it. All I got was the regular one, and then it came with I think I re-rolled like 4 or 5 of them and just couldn't get any of these. But for PvP, we're looking for some fluted barrel, accurized, some dynamic sway reduction, and tap the trigger. That's always a really fun, solid roll for PvP for any kind of auto rifle machine gun roll. Now, I didn't see dynamic sway or tap the trigger, I think, on any of mine, and I'm upset about it.
Well,
I think I got the rewind. Go ahead, Jared. My bad.
With the created version, the time loss, the bottom set, you do get dramatic spray reduction automatically.
Okay, yeah. So I got that, but I didn't get tap the trigger. Then, yeah.
Yeah, I got. I finally got on the third one that I purchased. I got the rewind rounds and the one for all. So I was pretty happy with that one. And I kind of called it quits there and figured it wasn't going to get any better than that. So, I've got me a good rocket launcher last week and a good heavy machine gun this week. So I'm sitting good.
Yep. So Fox's well right there. That's a God PvE well. We've got corkscrew, tac mag, and then the rewound and one for all. But I would say a bonus roll that could be super fun to play with is the last 2 columns. You get Demolitionist and then Adrenaline Junkie. That is probably right up there with that PvE God roll. It's probably just one or the other, depending on your build you're running. If you're running that stasis lock, you want that Demolitionist. So I think there's a lot of good stuff to go out there with that corrective measure, and it's a good looking gun. All right, next it brings us to the Grandmaster this week, Inverted Spire. As you probably been following any of the YouTube creators, they've been claiming how this is the easiest Grandmaster of the season. And our boys Chad and Fox try to throw it in the first 2 minutes of the game.
Slander.
Seen a champion.
I would say allegedly, but there's video evidence.
Yes. Taking 4 deaths before we even take our ghost out to scan the Vex tower to continue on with the strike.
They made all those beginning ads hyper aggressive Gambit style ads for some unknown reason. It's I don't know what happened. I don't know.
Hey, let's talk about Jared just being a coward and a yellow belly and running away from us and not telling us there's a guy. He's like, I think the Cabal are here. He didn't tell us about the enemy that's never spawned ever in the history of Destiny.
No, you missed out. I called the Cabal because I was looking at him shooting him, and then all of a sudden you died right next to me. I'm like, what got you? And then I died.
So
I was like, I'm shooting Cabal.
Jared already ran off the ledge.
If you've watched the video, I am shooting Cabal the entire time. And it's not like I ran away. I just dropped down because I'm getting shot in the back and I can see it on my screen. It's like, well, I want to drop down the wall to where I'm not getting shot like any good Grandmastering Guardian would be doing. But you all just sit there and just let it take you and kill you. How many
you
times
were taking all the fire, and then I'm shooting Cabals scoped in, and all of a sudden Ryan dies. I was like, wait.
Guardian down. Guardian down. And I thought, oh my God. Because, we started recording our very first run. And it really is our very first run because I would be ashamed to put that up as a guide if it wasn't our first run, because it was ugly. It would have been very easy to restart and recapture the video and do all that, but we're raw and uncut footage, and we're not trying to sugarcoat or hide anything. So, have we talked about our loadouts yet? What we decided to do?
Nah, we haven't.
Go ahead, Chad.
Ooh, Chad first. Okay. So this one we were going for just burning the boss as fast as possible, and it also helps with a couple champions here and there. But we were two of us were doing Thunder Crash Titans. I'll let you guess who those were. And obviously running with Anarchy. I was running Deafening Whisper for some voidy boy nonsense with some suppression cells, and Night Watch, for them anti-barriers here and there, and then obviously unstoppable grenade launchers. So use saving super for boss and staggered champions here and there. If you're a monster like Jared, you can do a double kill on some champions, which we did with Shifty. We stunned him, and all of a sudden I hear him flying in and kill both an unstoppable and and an anti-barrier at the same time.
For me, pretty much the same loadout as Chad, except for my grenade launcher and my energy slot. I use the empty vessel. You do have all three shields in the strike, but there's not a lot of them. But it's just like they're in groups. All of a sudden, there's void shields, then there's some solo shields, then there's back to void, and then finally arc in the boss room for those three harpies. And if for the arc, if the only thing you have arc, if you're not running Anarchy for whatever reason, is a grenade, you'll be just fine with that with your subclass abilities to take care of the arc stuff. And there's a lot more void than any of them. It's like void than solo than arc. So that's what I did, and you all know what Fox was doing.
Yeah, Stasis Warlock with, believe it or not, a Night Watch. I know it's very original. And then the Truth Teller with Blinding Grenades, Demolitionist, and Auto-Loading, I believe. I can't remember what else I have on it. And then Anarchy, and then some Charged with Light, some Suppression cells, your typical GM build, survivability, and crowd control is kind of my main game. And yeah, pretty after that first area is pretty smooth. There's a bunch of champions, so if you're not very good and you get down to one revive in the opening area, there are a lot of champions to kill to get those revives back. Just be careful at the drill section. I've seen some pretty crazy videos on Twitter. People have been posting of the drill catching a champion and throwing them like towards right where the player is, or throw behind them. It's been kind of comical, really. So look out there, and you can melt the boss at the end. We weren't sure, so we didn't. But if everybody pops an Anarchy or if one person has Breach and Clear, everybody pops 2 Anarchies on the boss, and then wait about 3 seconds, and both people Thunder Crash, you're going to knock that boss's health all the way down and kill him in that first area. So it's pretty easy. This week we got that. Where they reset the rotation, they have the Hung Jury, the Adept Hung Jury. I got a Hung Jury. It was not very good. Hung onto it still, though. So I'm at 499 out of 500 in my vault. And like every slot on every character is full. I have like 8 out of 9 on every weapon. So it's about time for a vault cleaning. And don't forget, you can watch our run on YouTube. We kind of talk through strategy while we're in there. It's interesting. But, we kind of give you I would say we're above average, but we're not like the best players of the game. So watching us would probably be a lot like how you guys would run it. So I think we're pretty good for that.
Yeah, definitely watch the first 2 minutes at least for Ryan and I's super special bonding time while we're dead with our ghosts there.
And I don't let him forget about the opening encounter during the entire strike.
Yeah, and he might have dropped a couple bags on me at one point. So, but it happens.
So as we go through these Grandmasters, we use a lot of Night Watch, and that brought me to, thinking about Game of Thrones and being a part of the Crows and all that stuff, right? So I came up with a Grandmaster oath for us to take. So here we go. The Spire gathers, and now my night watch fires. I shall not need a res. I shall not die to the red-barked snipe. I shall not go flawless, nor claim glory. I shall live and die by anarchy. I am the sword that revs. I am the bleak watcher of the last city. I am the fire that burns for 1,000 voices. The rise that brings the ward of dawn. The Galanor that never drops. The Ursa's shield for the guardian down. I pledge my light to honor the night's watch, to conquer this strike and all strikes to come. So
I have chills. After that.
I got goosebumps.
Thank you,
I'd show
Jared.
you, but
Thank you, Jared.
it might be a tradition from now on. Whenever
Oh, gosh.
Grandmasters finally come back, when the season ends.
depending on if we have anti-barrier scout or not.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Oh,
I will
boy.
be reciting this when it's time for Grandmasters again.
We have taken the black.
And it's time for a chronological chat.
Oh, man.
What?
I have no idea. I've had too much whiskey at this point. I forget what we call him every time.
Chad the Chronicler.
Chronicler?
Just like the title.
I
Chronicler.
hated that title because you want to go around and scan stuff. Who wants to do that?
I did. Anyway, we're going to be getting back to Ava, talking about her and her book, Ava's Journey. Where we left off, she was in a building getting ready for a meeting with some others, and all of a sudden there's an explosion and her sight goes white. So she gets a little concussive stuff going on. She gets knocked down, and that's the end of that spot. So it picks up saying for a couple of minutes she's just sitting there in shock, shaking her head, trying to get back her senses to where she was, and it came out of nowhere, so she's completely unawares whatsoever. And so she's just on the ground, just everything on her is just hurt. She just hurts everywhere. And obviously she's an older lady, so that's not surprising at all. But she as she's coming to and starting to see her surroundings, she hears the guttural shouting of some Cabal soldiers and some Guardian weapon fire going on. So she can hear some of that happening outside. And she hears some screaming happening. And so without thinking, she gets on her feet and looks towards where her shotgun is. And she goes over there and grabs it and then double checks it just to make sure everything's good. Now, if you remember earlier in this book, she didn't know how to wield a gun at all whatsoever. She didn't know how to use a gun. She couldn't even hold it and point it at anything. That's not who she was. She's simply a seamstress and someone who puts together outfits and guardian armor, and that's all she does. But now, being that she's been basically helping refugees escape the city, she's done a little bit of training, dry firing weapons, loading it, aiming down sights, pulling the trigger with no ammo in there, and just running drills in order to be prepared for the moment that she needs to, and the moment comes to her. So she shoulders a shotgun and gets ready, prepares for the kickback, and she aims and hits one dead center in the chest, and he goes flying out of the room. Obviously, her being an older gal, and first time she actually shot the gun before, because she's trying not to make any noise, so dry firing it. Just all of a sudden she feels something crack in her arm as the weapon just fires and fires back on her, and she flinches. It hits her shoulder, she flinches, and all of a sudden bullets fly past her. Where her head was, the gun saved her life with making her flinch. So she hears where the shots come from, raises the weapon again, fires it, shoots another guy into the wall, and she gets hurt even more. She reloads the gun with one hand, waiting and trying to hear what else is going on outside. And then all of a sudden, a war dog bursts through the window, and she whirls around, aims at it, and then all of a sudden, two more pop into the room, just looking at her. And the book ends saying, "Ava fired, that the beasts charged." So now it moves on, and we rejoin Ava. She's leaning against an outer wall of a barn. So now we know she's at the farm. So she's there, obviously, to get some healing. But we now know that she's at the farm, and if you played the original campaign, you know what the farm is. So now this is a very familiar location for us. So you can see the EDZ in the distance, and then you can also see a shard of the Traveler. And so she spends a lot of her time recovering from the attack and just kind of staring out and looking at the shard and just kind of sitting there staring at it. And while she tries to recover, she has her cane, and it's the only thing that lets her kind of stand up anymore. In D1, she didn't have the cane, but now we know where it came from. It came from this attack. So she's there to help refugees, and she's also there to help Guardians kind of find themselves again. We're still in a time where there's no light. The Traveler is still captured by the Cabal. So she's there. She mostly spends her time alone, but Cryptarch is there, Tyra Karn. Then there's the frames. More people are starting to come by that area that we know, and of course we get there. She makes friends with Devram, and they talk to each other a lot and have a cup of tea here and there. Now she's not really there working, but she is simply there to help the refugees and help people, but mostly ends up helping Guardians. Kind of helps them sit there and realize their powerlessness, but not lose hope. And she spends time sitting there with them while they stare at the shard, because she ends up doing that on her own anyway. But they end up kind of joining her and sitting at the shard, and every once in a while, they get up, and some of them are distraught, some of them are hopeful, but they'll leave, and then they never really come back to her. So once they go, they end up always walking towards the shard and trying to find and rediscover their light. And that's usually it. They usually leave and then go to do whatever they need to do to help save humanity. But she makes a point that she doesn't really want to go back to the city. She's kind of done with it, and she just wants to live a quiet life now. Now we move on, and she still has a comms unit in her room, something to help her contact people in the city, whenever that comes back, but contacting people that she knows from her past. And it chirps to life, and she gets a call from Tess, and Ava says, do you have any idea what time it is right now? And Tess just kind of perks up and says, yes, I do. But Ava sees a look on her face that she can't really pinpoint what's going on. And she says, Tess, what's going on? Are you okay? And Tess, she says she doesn't know how to say it, but Cade 6 is dead. So we now know that this is a point in Forsaken. So she's been still on the farm. The whole time she's been on the farm, she's been there, kind of spending her time there, not being anywhere near the tower of the city. And she kind of thinks about Cade, and she never really had much of a connection with the Hunter Vanguard, but she knows how important he is to most of the people. So she tells Tess, I'm sorry, I know that you liked him, but we and Tess just says it's all right. We weren't even I talked to him not too long ago, and Tess tells her there's going to be a memorial service. Will you come back? And Ava kind of looks and thinks that she hasn't been in the city since the attack, and going back for a funeral, she doesn't really think it's a good thing. And all of a sudden, Tess says, while you're here, we can sort out the holiday programming for the frames. And Ava, the frames are doing holidays without me. And Tess smiles and she says, "Are you surprised? Somehow all the holiday gear got packed and it got to the new tower, and the frames programming kicked in and they set up the holidays." And she moves the camera over and there's a mannequin behind her with a Santa hat on, and she kind of just sits there and says, "They did the dawning without me, huh?" And Tess says, "Well, over the summer they did some stuff. Akora got someone to help her to commemorate the end of the war." But Tess says, "We need you. We need you here to help us celebrate when we need to kind of break free from stuff and just kind of get away from it all." And she looks back and smiles. Now Ava goes back to the tower and she's there looking in the storage unit, looking at stuff, and she tells Frames, "Sanitize everything and let's start opening up and everything and seeing where everything is." And she looks around the marketplace and sees all these people and stalls and sees that the city's kind of bustling with life again. Guardians are walking all over the place and just color everywhere. Guardians in their crazy armor and it's something that she's happy to see, but she sees a lot of style that she doesn't know anymore. She feels left behind, and she just kind of sits there on a bench watching the market and watching these people walk by and seeing the fashion that's changed over the last year. And all of a sudden the Guardian walks up to her and says, "Ava." And she just looks at him because it's a helmet, and he takes off his helmet and says, "Well, that's me." And it was the hunter, or it was Ramos, the guy who had saved her initially. And she grabs him and gives him a hug, and she says, "You save a woman's life, and then you ride off to retake the city and never contact me, huh?" And he turns to his new fire team and says, he says, "Team, this is Ava Levante. You remember my stories? This woman's a legend." And he is one of the Guardians that was living through D1 essentially, and he knew about Ava's old events and stuff like that. So that was something that he knew. He shared it with these people, and they kind of share stories back and forth. And he says, "Come, let's get some food, and you can help me teach these kindergartens something about the tower and what it means to truly be a Guardian." And she smiles and thinks about the last city, and she remembers that it's safe and that she's finally feels at home again. Now that's the end of that book there. There's obviously a couple more moments. I wanted to talk about two more moments in particular. The first one, this comes later, obviously much later. She's sitting on a bench in a quiet part of the city, just kind of overlooking some stuff, watching some Guardian ships flying in, the birds, just the clouds, and just very quiet, peaceful. And a very tall Titan steps up and says, "Excuse me, would you mind if I sit here?" And she smiles and makes some room, and she says, "Please sit." And he has some birdseed with him. And she's kind of just watching him, and he's just very quietly reaches into the bag, grabs some seeds, and throws it on the ground. And some pigeons come. And she's looking around, noticing that there's a bit more pigeons than normal. And she's wondering how often he goes there to feed the pigeons, because it seems like they know him already, and he's not a hard man to miss. He's very big. So she's wondering how she never saw him before. And so the pigeons are there, city's off in the distance, and she just kind of closes her eyes and just thinks. And all of a sudden, while she's sitting there, another Titan walks up to the guy sitting on the bench next to her. And she says, "It's such an honor to meet you. You're an inspiration to Titans everywhere." And he nods and says, "Thank you." And they talk for a little bit. Ava's just sitting there kind of listening and talk about how she came back from a patrol. And he thanks her for commitment and keeping the people of the city safe. And they leave, and he says goodbye, and he goes back to feeding the pigeons quietly. And Ava kind of leans to him and says, "You famous?" And he says, "A little bit." She says, "I see. Well, my name is Ava." He says, "Saint." And so they sit there for a little bit longer, and she's thinking, Saint 14. And she thinks, "I heard about that name, Battle of the Six Fronts, from a long time ago." And he says, "That's right. It was a pleasure to meet you, Ava." And they sit there a little bit longer, feeding the pigeons, watching the clouds. and she finally had to get up and excuse herself. And she looks at him and doesn't think of him as a legend, but she instead thinks he is a very nice young man. Now the next one is about a Titan who she does not name, but this is during the dawning, and the Titan comes up to her and puts down a bow on her desk and says, "This is a compound bow for shooting arrows." And she looks at it, and it's a compound bow with a bow for a present. And she could tell by looking at him that it's something's wrong. So she suspects that he's smitten with someone. And so he asks, this is for a special friend, what do you think? And he says, well, it depends on your friend. What are they like? And he says, she likes to fight. She's regal. She's is a recurve bow more romantic than a compound bow? And she's just kind of thinks, but she doesn't know anything about bows. So he then goes, maybe a book's better. And she's like, well, it depends which book you choose. She says, I've read a Corazon Circles revised edition. It's very good. She just looks at him. That's a terrible gift. Maybe literature. And he thinks and says, well, I did destroy a book of hers once. Maybe I should replace it. She says, maybe don't buy her something that's going to remind her something bad. And he thinks and says, perhaps this bow is already the right gift for your friend. Think she would like it? Think she would use it? And he says, yes. So, well then, happy dawning to you and your friend. And he leaves, but there's only one Titan that would give a bow to a friend that's regal and likes to fight. So my guess is it's Saint, or no, Shax. He's given a bow to his lady friend. He also destroyed a book of hers, which if you know anything about that, the helmet stayed on. But
you're right.
That's the last. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the last story I have for that one. You keep that out of frame, Jared. Maybe I'll talk about that the next time. But she has a lot of stories about just being a human and helping us celebrate things, and that's all she's around for. She's around to help us unwind, and it's fun.
Why didn't you tell us that she's essentially Forrest Gump sitting on a bench talking to all the famous people?
She likes to sit on benches with people, man.
That's all you had to say when I asked you like weeks ago. Let's talk about her. You could have said, oh, she's basically Forrest Gump. I would have known what that meant.
Got to go and be president again.
Something bit me.
Oh, man.
That's my favorite movie, by the way, of all time, Forrest Gump.
Yeah, for obvious reasons.
Except for Ginny. I hate her.
Well. All right. I think it's time.
Rest in peace.
For the mailbag, baby. Let's get to some questions here. So the first one, asking for a friend. How much money have you spent tangentially to Destiny, to Bungie? So from what Jared and I have gleaned, we're interpreting this to mean how much money have you spent not on the game itself, but on things related to the game. So all of our raid jackets, lore books for me, cookbooks if you're into that. They have lots of clothing. They have lots of stickers and pins. They also have all of the Halo stuff back in the day. All the Halo stuff is equal to Bungie too. I'm not going to count silver for this one because that's directly related to the game. This is stuff that's related to the game, but not the game. Yeah, no, hold on, Ryan. This is including all things that you need to play the game. But I'm going to leave PCs out of this. I'm going to leave hardware out of this.
I started to say, are we counting PCs? Because I wouldn't have a PC. PCs. I wouldn't have a PC if it wasn't for Destiny.
Yeah,
I'm being honest. I would still be on. I would instead of having this PC, I would have an Xbox Series X, and I would have overpaid for it for the day one and been playing Destiny on it.
I'm just going to count it as all the stuff that is related to it and Bungie. So Halo figurines, books, that stuff too.
Oh, Halo figurines. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. If you forget
We have
about
to
that
do
stuff,
we have
because
to
the
do
second part is a bunch
Destiny
and
first,
Halo.
right? All right.
That's-
So obviously we have how much were raid jackets? Like 200 or 150?
Oh shoot! I think it was like 200 with shipping.
Okay. So I have one raid jacket. I have multiple shirts. We'll say they were $25 a piece, cutting shipping. So we'll say I have $100 in shirts. I have 4 or 5 figures that I got from Target. So those are probably $20, $30 a piece. So we'll just
Mhm.
call them 20. So we'll say we have another 100 in figures. And then we're not counting computers, thank God. So doing that, or if we're not counting silver, I don't know. So what would that be? I bought like usually not like the biggest collectors. Usually the one that gives you the game and the season pass for the year is all that I
Yeah, the
buy.
deluxe. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't buy like the $150 edition with the knapsacks and the thermoses and all that stuff because I would never ever. The only one I wish I would have bought, and I had the opportunity to buy it about 2 or 3 years ago, was the original Destiny 1, like vanilla edition, like the collector's one that came with the ghost. It was like a chest, like you open up and and it has like a ghost inside. I wish I would have bought that. I could have got it for like 250, which is about what it was originally. It was still sealed and everything. I wish I would have bought that, but I didn't. So I don't have very much on Destiny, but Halo, I would have even had an Xbox without Halo. I would have just been on PS2 forever. But I went to my buddy had a birthday party. He was like 14 or 15, and he had just got the Xbox and Halo for Christmas. And I was like, I have to
that's a
buy
party.
this. Like I have to, yeah. We would invite all the girls over, and the girls would leave at like 10, and then like we were counting down until 10, so we could all play. Like we'd have like a LAN party for Halo 1.
Yes.
Kind of embarrassing, like because like here I would be, like it would be, we're sophomores, juniors in high school.
Hey man,
And
when are the girls leaving? We gotta play Halo.
yeah, we're packing our televisions and our Xboxes and our cars and our vehicles to take to the party. And I had the Duke controller, like the big dog.
Yes,
Not
like
like
it was like this big.
yeah. So I had one at home, and I had one that I kept in the center console of my car. So anywhere I ever was, I had access to the Duke controller, so I could rain pain on all my friends. So, but Halo, I had all the books. I had all the action figures. I had the fanciest, schmanciest version. Like the Halo 2, it was like the steelbook case. Halo 3 had the helmet. Halo Reach had the statue. I had all that stuff. I was you know, I was a nerd. That's fine. I can admit it. But I loved Halo. I'm going to be on vacation next week, and I actually have a Halo beach towel that I'm pretty excited to bust out. So I love that. I love Master Chief. I love Bungie. I hate 343 Interactive. They've ruined Halo. So hopefully it gets brought back to glory with the new one.
I'm gonna give a much shorter answer and say a lot. I have raid jackets. I have some Gambit jerseys from earning those things. I think I'm just going to share one memory. I remember the most I spent on the game before for Halo was Reach. I went to a midnight release, and I was the first guy to walk out with the Legendary Edition. So I had the big box, and I'm
I
walking
got
out.
it.
I'm walking out like, yeah,
Looked like
look
the
at this. Look
storage
at this right
crate.
here. You like
Looked
this?
like
You
the
want to look at
storage
it?
crate.
Yeah, exactly. And people are like, whoa, that's a little whoa, and I'm like, yeah, it is, baby. Yeah, it is, baby. And got home. We loaded up into one guy's house, and all four of us had four different like 50-inch LED or TVs, and we're all in like one room, and we beat the entire campaign We just played it from then until we beat it. We were all very conveniently sick for school too when that came back.
I remember whenever Halo 3 came out, which I want to say was September 25th, 2009. Somebody fact check that for me real fast. When Halo 3, or no, it was when 2009, 2007. Whenever it came out, I worked at a video store, and anything that came out 2007, anything that came out, I could order, and I would get it the day prior to the street date. So I had ordered the Halo, like the Steelbook edition for Halo 3
yeah.
through the video store, but I had ordered the helmet, a legendary edition, through GameStop, but I wanted to have it a day early. So, like, if you check my achievements on Xbox Live, I beat the game before the game released because I got it when UPS ran at like 1 o'clock that day. Invited like 4 buddies over, and we beat it as they had to leave at the last level to drive to GameStop in order to pick up their copy. But yeah, man, it was awesome. Man, I miss those days. I'm not going to do it this podcast, but I have an incredible midnight release story that I will share with the podcast. Maybe on like episode 50 or something, episode 25. It'll be the funniest story you've ever heard.
Yeah, I wish I had some of the midnight release stories for Halo, but I was a Call of Duty kid for the midnight releases. So, I was young, dumb, at the time.
Yeah.
I'm fine to admit that. You talk about, I'm definitely don't have the stories these guys do. I bought the Prophecy Dungeon hoodie, and that's like my favorite hoodie of all time, the way it fits. And that's, and I went ahead and ordered the Season of the Splicer hoodie too. So I'm a big fan of the hoodies that's then Bungie put out in the store. Never bought a Raid jacket. Just wasn't really into that. So definitely not the stories these guys have. So the next question here is, come up with a way to fix Gambit so that SOB Paul Tassi hears it and then writes an article about it on Forbes so Bungie will see it, so that way we can fix Gambit. To me, just take out exotics of Gambit.
Yeah, I mean that's a really easy thing because you get rid of all the falling stars, you'll get rid of anarchy, you'll get rid of xenophage, and then
Truth.
It's
and
truth.
Eyes of Tomorrow.
Yeah, Eyes of Tomorrow.
1,000 Voices, like some of these.
Yeah, make it a legendary
Izanagi's
game.
Burden.
Yeah, it'd be more interesting. It'd be way more interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I don't know. Did we ever do our Gambit fix like back in episode 2 or 3? Like we had talked about. I know we.
You talked about it. We tried to not talk about it.
I think that's right.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So the Gambit fix is to have fixed loadouts that you have to queue in as a certain. You either like only if you queue in as an invader, then you're the only one that can invade, and you have fixed loadouts. And 4 stacks only play 4 stacks. They can't beat up on the solo queue guys. And fixed loadouts meaning there's 10 possible things you can choose from, and that's all that you have. No more, no less. And the easier fix would be to just disable exotics, like Jared said, because that gets rid of all the trouble that you have. And also, 15,000 is fucking ludicrous as an amount of infamy that you have to have. Yeah, there's our one F-bomb for the podcast. But it is insane how many wins, how many games you have to play in order to get through that.
And then the whole last rank is 2,000 points, and you cannot
3,000.
lose. It's 3,000. Yeah, you're right.
And it goes from 15?
12 to 15, yeah. And you can't lose. You can, but you're not doing anything to benefit it at all.
Well, at least we'll fix that in season 15.
Yeah, but then they're also taking away the bounty increases, so we'll see how that goes.
Pro tip, stack all your bounties. Whenever you're at like 10,000, start stacking your bounties and wait. Like it's usually every 4 weeks they do like that triple infamy, and then just save those and just burn all your bounties that week to get all the way from 12 to 15,000.
Yeah, save it for Legend.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Next question here we're looking at. What are your thoughts about the leak? And I'm going to say this right away. We do not speculate on rumors. And then I'll let Ryan take this one away.
In the words of the great American philosopher Jalen Rose, happiness is a function of expectations. So don't get your hopes up. Bungie is really good at hyping things up, and the community is the only people that are better at coming up with storylines and this and that, and people get their hopes up and they have unrealistic expectations. So temper your expectations, and August 24th, we're going to find out. We're going to see what it's all about with the Witch Queen.
All right. Not going to be able to do it. It's definitely the best Jalen Rose quote. And
not going to be able to do it.
If you get jammed up, don't mention my name. All right. We can probably go a long time just talking about Jalen Rose quotes. Hit the deck. So the next question here is soft or hard shell tacos. That's from Nina. I'm gonna go with soft shells 9 times out of 10, but every now and then I have to have a hard shell taco.
It's soft shell tacos all day, every day, except for the day that you're going through Taco Bell and they have those Doritos Locos tacos.
They're bringing back the Flamin' Hot Doritos Loco.
Listen, I went to Hotheads Burritos the other day, and they dropped so you get for an extra $1, they can add some Flamin' Hot Cheetos in your burrito and mix them up. And man, I took that double meat pork and chicken from A tier to the S tier, and good God, was that good. I might have that for lunch tomorrow. So I'm a soft shell guy. Unless it's Doritos Locos Tacos. None of that Kohler Ranch bull crap. I'm talking nacho cheesier. Or the Flamin' Hot. That's also acceptable.
I'm a big soft fan. I like them soft. I'm huge into the TJ tacos, and that's like I'm sitting there with a plate of like 20 doubled little tiny tacos, and I feel like a giant eating a bunch of tacos. Next day, someone's like, "What'd you have for dinner?" I had 20 tacos. I'm not going to tell them they're little itty bitty ones, but they were delicious. But every once in a while, I get a craving for that braised beef, deep fried hard shell goodness, and I'm talking that real Mexican stuff. And it's Americanized, but it's good.
I don't know what some of that meant, because in Kentucky we don't have a lot of those tacos that you just described.
I described one taco.
Kentucky. I don't know what a TJ taco is, but if you can eat 20 of them, that's my kind of taco.
Yeah.
So down for that.
All right. Next question here is: will we be picking up the newly announced Steam Deck to play Destiny on the go with?
So the Steam Deck was announced today. It's made by Valve, the company that obviously produces the launcher Steam. For those of you people that only play on console, Steam is the primary launcher it's the most preferred launcher for all video games on PC. There's some exclusivity with like some of the Epic games and stuff, but honestly, everybody uses Steam. Destiny's on Steam. This is essentially a pocket computer that is very similar to the Switch. It seems to be this thing is going to play your entire Steam library. It's from what I've read. So imagine every computer game ever in your pocket that you could play. So
Binding of Isaac on the go, baby.
I don't know about all that. I would I think it would be fantastic. So Jared, I think I had posted a quote in our little rundown there from kind of what the specs are. Do you see that there,
Yeah.
or what the equivalent specs are?
Yeah. We got roughly equivalent to an AMD Radeon RX 6000 series graphics card and a Ryzen 3000 processor.
Chad, you're our AMD guy. Jared and I are Intel and NVIDIA. So if you could walk us through what that would be helpful.
Well, the 6000 series is the newest GPUs that came out. The 67, 68, the 6900. Nice. Are the newest ones that came out supposedly. I've never seen one, so I don't really know. And then the Ryzen 3000, I think it doesn't say it's the 3000 series is the one right before what we got now, which is the 5000 series. And I had a 3000. I had a Ryzen 3700X before this one, this monstrosity. And they're plenty good for sure.
Right.
The good thing about Ryzen is it has, unlike I'm going to say this, and they're going to both be mad at me, but it's the truth. It has a very good sweet spot on 1080p gaming, mainly because it's CPU bound, and the Ryzen CPUs have a lot of cores, and they can handle that very easily and very well. Now that's like the only reason I would say it has a leg up. That's it. Because it's looking like this is going to be in between the 720, 1080. And so if you can hit that 1080 sweet spot, then the processor is going to be handling a lot of the payload while the GPU is going to be there in the backup helping out, which is fine.
Right. And it is the like the all-in-one chip. It's not separate things. So it's kind of
it's going to be
like the Xbox.
G, I think they called it the G series for the 3000s and the 5000s. Right. So if it's a G chip, then it has the Radeon graphics inside of the actual CPU chip.
Gotcha. So what I saw is this is like a 7-inch screen. So at that size screen, running at not quite 1080, but the equivalent of 1080, that's going to be all you need. You don't need like 4K on a screen that size. I mean, that's completely unnecessary. This is, from what I saw, the battery life is anywhere from 2 to 8 hours. I would imagine that's probably going to be, if you're trying to play, Crisis or something like that on there.
Nothing can play Crisis.
Nothing can play Crisis. If you're trying that, you're probably looking at the 2-hour battery life. Whereas if you're playing, Doki Doki Literature Club, you're probably going to get closer to that 8-hour. Would be my guess. Yeah. So I would like to have one. It's definitely more so the issue is, so my wife, back when the pandemic started, bought the Switch Lite, mainly because we couldn't find a Switch anywhere. Animal Crossing just came out like that March, and she's like, I love Animal Crossing. I want to play it. So we found a Switch Lite. We got her that. And then my daughter, who's 4, kind of commandeered that as her console, the thing that she, whenever she's not playing her iPad, she tinkers around on. So we ended up buying an actual Switch to play like Mario Party, Mario Kart, those things on the television, because the Switch Lite, you can't dock to the television. So I initially bought a Switch on release night. I had my, this is terrible, but I had my pregnant wife come with me, and we camped out at the Walmart for it, so I could buy 2. And then I bought one and she bought one, and then we scalped the second one. So I got my initial Switch for free, but after I beat Breath of the Wild and Mario Galaxy, there wasn't anything else really left to play on it. So other than Minecraft. So we sold it, and now I have 2 Switches. So the Switch OLED that they just announced, I have literally zero intention of buying or use for. This, I don't travel enough to use. And honestly, my wife has a pretty sweet laptop that has like a 2060 Super and like an i7 in it. So if I ever need to go anywhere, I would just probably snatch it and take it with me. So I don't think I'll pick it up, but for the price, which I think was, what was it, $399?
Yeah.
I think it's quite enticing. And I also saw that it has output to where you can hook it up to a monitor, and um, you could do it that way as well. It looks like you can play. So external connect. This is based upon the SteamDeck.com. It says external connectivity. You can go up to 4K at 120. So, look at that. You can hook it up to a monitor. I don't expect you're going to get 4K 120 on like Destiny 2, but some games you could.
Probably Stardew Valley.
Yeah, don't get me into Stardew Valley. That game took hours and weeks from my life. So I think it's a super cool piece of tech. I just don't have the personal use for it. But honestly, like if I were to walk into a store in like March or like April, whenever like our tax returns, we just got our tax return and got a couple extra thousand in the bank, it might be an impulse buy.
I mean, for me, my general rule is this: if I can't play Slime Rancher on it, I'm not going to buy it. And I mean, my Xbox, the Xbox One that I got can't handle Slime Rancher. It's just such a monster of a game.
It's a powerhouse.
It's just there's so many assets on the screen at the same time that the CPU and the GPU just can't handle it. Like,
what does that drop to? Like, if you had to estimate frames per second.
Okay, on the Xbox, the One, I can make that thing drop to easily below 5 frames, no problem.
You're talking about like the VCR Xbox One original, not like the One S or the One X. You're talking about like the thick boy Xbox One, correct?
I could probably do it on my X too if I really tried. Because the thing is, you can capture slimes and put 100, 200, 300 on the screen at the same time, and an Xbox can't handle that. Because it's going to try to, you can't really choose the resolution very well, so it's going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to make this 2K, and then it's like not with that many assets on screen, bro, and it's just going to it's just frozen. I mean, this thing might be able to handle it for a little bit, but that battery life is going to be like 20 minutes. So.
Yeah, if there's ever come a time in my life when I am gone from home, 2 or 3 nights a week, I'm definitely picking one of these up. But as of right now, the way my life stands, I don't need one yet. And it's funny because my wife did the exact same thing whenever the pandemic started, wanted to play Animal Crossing, and we couldn't find a big Switch, so we got a Switch Lite. And then about a few months later, they came out with the Animal Crossing Edition Big Switch. And we got that one. So we also have 2 Switches. So
switched up, baby.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I got the Switch too, and we got to set up a game night where I can smoke you all in whatever you want to play.
That like the only thing I normally play is it Mario Party? Whenever like
you're on the game board.
Yes. Okay. Yep. Yeah. We played that quite a few times. Yeah. That's pretty fun to play.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever want to lose at that, or Mario Kart, or Smash, or
like I'm pretty bad at most Nintendo games, and I just go and have fun. My favorite thing to do is drinking and driving with Mario Kart. So while you're drinking, you're not allowed to be driving. Your cart can't be moving, so you usually have to finish your beer before the race ends. So either you can get all the way to the finish line and then chug it at the end, or you can like drink it as like drive for a while, then drink and then go. So that's a very fun party game to play.
Yeah, that's definitely neat, and that's a lot of fun with like when the Wii happened with the steering wheels.
Yeah.
So from then on, you can turn it. So you got a bunch of people drinking and doing this.
It's actually pretty cool technology in the little like the half controllers or whatever, and you can turn them and stuff. Sure. I mean, you can just do it with one hand, but yeah, that stuff is pretty fun. We should do that one night.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
All right. What installable mod would you like to have as a perk? I was just going to go with free hand grip, so that improves your hip fire accuracy and the ready speed of your weapon to fire from the hip.
Now, this question initially came from a Reddit post that happened a little bit ago, and it was, if I could do anything to the weapon system, I'd make a full auto trigger into a mod. I saw that post and was like, oh, that's super interesting. I never thought about it that way, because then you could, as long as there's no limitations, you could make anything full auto. And I'm sitting there thinking about all the nonsense I could do with that.
Like a full auto sniper.
Yeah, or a full auto fusion, or full auto. Yeah, you could just have a bunch of nonsense. I don't. I mean, being able to slap like Rampage or something is too much.
Right.
It'd have to be something weird. And I'm going to see if Ryan gives me an idea.
I think Outlaw is the play. So Outlaw doesn't break the game. It makes you reload faster. And in order to stack the Outlaw, you have to get precision kills. So it's not super. I don't think you could do like rapid hit or anything, but I think Outlaw would be pretty fair to use. It's probably I think anything better than Outlaw, I think it is too much though.
All right. You gave me a good idea of Rodeo. Anybody from D1 that played with fusions with me knows Rodeo. So Rodeo is based. So Counterbalance is similar. It increases vertical stability, but Rodeo basically turned it to max 100 every time. Every shot is 100% vertical, and that's all Rodeo did. Is it made, instead of like a spread, it 100% up in a line and predictable. Starts at the bottom, goes up, and with fusions, oh dude, it was a monster. I had like waited until I got fusions with that, and it's a monster. You can aim at the belly, and the enemy's dead no matter what it is.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Exactly, but being able to give that to everything, make it just tighten it up immediately. Oh, dude, that'd be so much fun. Imagine doing that to a shotgun. The spread's just a line going up and down.
Well, I think it would have to be primary weapons only. I think it would probably be the way you would have to do, or maybe like primary and energy. I always want to call them like secondary weapons, but energy slot
weapons. Wild
weapons
on a sniper,
right?
Because you just
a sniper that's really completely vertical,
yeah.
Right.
All right, so I think you all thought about that question the opposite way. This next was like, what installable mod would you like to have as a perk? So that's the mod, like the major spec, the Rampage spec, that kind of stuff. Would you like have one of those as a perk slot?
Oh, I think we thought of perks we would like as mods.
Yeah, you all did it the opposite way.
Yeah, well, because
is it full auto? Is it full auto a perk?
Yeah, but the next question, like I thought that was in reference, but yeah, so that's why I said free hand grip, because that's a mod that you can slot on to any legendary weapon.
I mean, my thing would be the same. Is just turn Counterbalance, which is debuff Rodeo, into a perk. It would just become like Rodeo, the perk. That's what it is.
I think it's pronounced Rodeo. You should know that. You should know that out in Cali.
You're right.
I think that's all I got.
Was that the last question?
That was it, my guy.
All right. Do you guys have? You guys go ahead and do your sign off, and then I'll run us out.
Listen, if you're doing the Grandmaster this week, don't throw the first encounter and make your team think that like, who is this LFG person that pulled off this? I probably need to post again. So that's all my piece of advice.
And don't let your elitist buddy in the group make fun of you.
Yeah, and make sure the people you're playing with are yellow bellies and run away to leave you to die. We're cowards.
Check the pod.
yeah. It is up on the YouTube. You can see Jared runs away, and Chad and I are there, nuts to butts, making sure we're trying to watch each other's backs. So, but yeah, check out the YouTube Conqueror's Corner. Check us out on Spotify and iTunes, Conqueror's Corner. Subscribe and unsubscribe and subscribe and unsubscribe. Do all that foolishness. That way we can trick the algorithm. And then click the bell on YouTube. Not really sure what that does because I've never done it, but everybody else always says it, so I figure it's important. Join the Discord. Follow us on Twitter at DestinyCCPod. Go out this week and become legend. Next week, I'm on vacation, so these two fools are going to be trying to do this themselves. They might have a special guest referee come in. I'm not sure. I haven't spoke with them a whole lot about it. So check us out next week. Love you guys.